Welcome to the edition of the Wonderberry Podcast.
I'm Brian.
And I'm exhausted.
That makes two of us. You could find at wonderberry.com.
You find me on YouTube at Open Darkwing.
And you can find me at
What are
my
you
house.
on these days? The house. Well, I did completed 2 days of college classes.
Whoa.
My final project for first week was due last night at like midnight, so I was up late last night taking care of that, and then had to get up there early this morning to take the wife to the airport, and it just, that's why I'm exhausted. It's also why we weren't able to actually record yesterday, and we had to switch it up. And I think this is going to be pretty much standard because it's going to be a busy day on Wednesdays after class.
Yeah.
So, but
That's
yeah,
all right.
no, it's good so far. It's forcing me to look at stuff in ways that I have never really looked at stuff before, which is kind of weird, but kind of fun, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's definitely different. Because I'm not your typical artist, like drawing artist. So starting with line art and trying to do stuff from imagination to just lines, that was a lot more difficult for my brain than I expected it to be. And I don't know why. Other than my imagination has typically been, I would take something that already exists and I know how to modify it for what I want to be able to do with it, whether it's concept or otherwise. And I think that just comes from why I enjoy working with video and images so much, because everything is already there and I'm not starting with a blank slate. I'm not good at starting with blank slates.
It's a whole nother world.
Yeah.
I've been doing that a lot with doing some of the 3D printing stuff, like starting with a blank slate. Like, okay, what am I building? Like, what do I need? And like Kyle came up with an idea for his grill for his element. It's like, okay, I can do that. Like, he kind of gave me ideas, so he was up the other day, so I went out and I got all the measurements I needed, and I'm like sketching things out on paper. I started with like one paper that was like a very rough sketch where I had all the measurements on it, and then I went to another sheet of paper, like an actual grid sheet, where I like started plotting it out with the to scale and putting in the pieces and how he wanted it to look, and trying to adjust things on that. And then I'll convert it to digital in Blender and do the same thing, but then I'll take it into 3D space there and build it up. Like just doing progressions. Like I did like a 1D line drawing, and I did like the 2D, and then I'm going to a 3D. It's like step by step.
Yeah. So, speaking of 3D prints, did you watch the launch last night?
No.
So, Relativity Space is a launch vehicle manufacturing company, right?
Yeah.
And they finally were able to launch Terran 1 last night for testing. And the reason why they wanted to test was because the vessel is 85% 3D printed, including the engines. And they made launch, they made it through Max Q, they made it into space and stage separation but they had an issue with firing off Stage 2's rocket. So they weren't able to achieve orbit on their first ever launch, but they proved the viability of 3D printed rocket technology, which is insane. So yeah, it was really cool to see that last night. It was definitely something different. Knowing that something that goes up that can carry a payload that can do all this stuff was 3D printed is, I don't know.
So I need to look into printing some rockets.
Right? But yeah, no, they managed to get through Max Q. They managed to do all their stuff in their first shot. They have either caught up to and or past what Blue Origin has managed to do. So, you know. That's going to be my favorite joke from here on out, is just dogging on the fact that Blue Origin still hasn't obtained orbit on anything they've ever done.
Now, didn't the flat Earth guy get orbit?
No, he went up and came down. I don't think he got orbit.
Okay. I thought he was close. I couldn't remember. I know he didn't live through whatever happened.
Yeah, let's see. Whatever happened to him? I know he didn't. He died, but I don't think he even came close to orbit. I'm scanning right now, independent freaking article about it, but it doesn't say. Huh. I don't know what. A homemade steam rocket?
Yeah, he built his own rocket. Tried to go to space, prove the Earth was flat.
Yeah, it said that it crashed into the ground soon after it launched. This was going to be a stepping stone to the creation of what they called a raccoon, a combination of a rocket and a balloon. So it would have the balloon take the rocket fairly high up, so about 22, 25 miles, where it would disconnect from the rocket, which would soar then to the Kármán line. But he never made it that far. Yeah, that's unfortunate. A steam rocket, though. Why would you? Never mind.
Why not? You might as well.
I mean, I don't know. His self-proclaimed nickname was Mad Mike Hughes. So anyone who says that is interesting.
I'm Mad Mike. Shoot myself into space and prove the Earth is flat.
I mean, kudos on him for putting his money where his mouth is and trying to figure out for himself whether or not it's flat or not. I mean, there's easier ways to figure that out, but I guess getting on a rocket and blasting yourself off would be one way of doing it. I think it would be funny whenever they're able to start flying again, because I'm not sure if they're able to start flying again or not. Blue Origin with those edge of space flights. Start offering those flights to notable flat earthers and see if they'll actually take them up on it, or if they are like, yeah, no, we're not going to do this. We just kind of want to stay ignorant of what's going on.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah. They'll want to stay ignorant.
I think that if given the opportunity, they will not take it. Which I think is kind of funny. But that's just me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't think they're honestly willing to do or try anything. So who knows? I could be completely wrong on this. I could be completely wrong, but I somehow doubt it. Oh, today is just a weird day.
Mm-hmm.
Woke up this morning doing all this stuff, right? And then I got a notice on my phone that Linus Tech Tips was like uploading a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, this is weird. So for those of you who don't know, Linus Tech Tips is probably the largest tech YouTuber out there. Over 100 employees now at Linus Media Group. Canadian YouTuber, they just do a lot of tech stuff, tech updates. They have multiple channels across the entire thing, and each one kind of specializes in their own stuff, right? So I kind of clicked on them, and I realized that it had changed its icon to Tesla Live, and they were live streaming a bunch of like those crypto scam interview things with Elon Musk and other people and all this stuff. And I was like, oh boy, they've been hacked. So after kind of monitoring this for a couple of hours and everything, the main channel and two of their other channels, Tech Linked and Tech Quickie, were taken completely offline. They'd been banned by YouTube. And what ends up happening is that when YouTube or Google in this case notices that there's some weird stuff going on and they contact in the channel ownership and they have a conversation, they end up banning the channels so that it bans out whoever gained access and control of the channels. So as of right now, his channels are not available or accessible right now. And sometimes the process of getting them back can be a long process, days at a time before anything comes back type of a thing. And sometimes it comes back fairly quickly. But last time when this happened to Linus Media Group, not only did they restore the channel, which is great, and they restored all of the subscribers and everything else, because like Tech Quickie, I think when the whole hack started, they had 15 million subscribers. By the time that it was taken offline, Tech Quickie was down to 5 million subscribers, which means they lost 2/3 of their subscribers unsubscribed during this whole fiasco, which is devastating when you're running a massive channel like he is. That should all be able to be restored once everything is kind of restored up. But one of the problems that happens is that when they restore it, all videos, including previously hidden or privated videos, are all public instantly. So then they'll have to go through and re-hide whatever they, for whatever reason, whether it's uploads that are pending release or ones in the past that they just did not want to release for whatever reason, but they wanted to keep them up there for prosperity or however they do stuff. I mean, I have tons of videos that are still hidden and privated on mine because they were test cases or test beds for stuff. But yeah, so it looks like they got hacked today.
Yep.
And then right before we went live, literally, yeah, not long before we went live, they put out because they also run their own streaming platform called Floatplane. So they don't have to not fully relied on YouTube for stuff. They've got specials over there or stuff that releases out early, that kind of thing. So they released a statement, says, regarding our YouTube channel hack, we are on top of it with Google's team now. Everything should be locked down and we're getting to the bottom of the attack vector with the hopeful goal of hardening their, YouTube's, security around YouTube accounts and preventing this sort of thing from happening to anyone in the future. You can expect a more detailed episode of The WAN Show, their podcast, at some point in the future. Not sure if that's going to happen this week or Friday, tomorrow, since this is still a developing situation. The good news is you can still expect to get your LTT fix on Floatplane as usual. And then it's the sticking out your tongue emoticon. So it sounds like that they are on top of everything with Google. They're getting the help that they need, and it doesn't sound like a panicked situation as much as now they're just trying to figure out what all they can find out from this so they can help shore up the security and everything else in the future. Which is
like
absolutely insane.
How would that have happened? Like, is it? I was wondering this is how. Do they have an account that's just Linus Tech Tips, or
So
is it
usually
like how we have it set up? Where it's a separate account from our personal accounts, and it's shared between us? So like, did they hack somebody who had access to those accounts?
So there's a few ways that this can happen. So you can have just a typical phishing attempt where whoever has access to the accounts, they try to gain control of their account, and then they can gain access in, like from like having moderator status or whatever. And there's a few other exploits. One of them is the cookie jack exploit. And the cookie jack, it's fairly old, so I'm not sure if they figured it out with other browsers on how to make it work. But what it would do is that old Internet Explorer had a flaw. And what it would do is it would...
A flaw?
Well, in relation to this, yes, I understand Internet Explorer had multiple flaws. But what you could do is you could pull cookie information out of all the cookies, back up through, and then spoof cookies for login information wise. So what it would do is it would say, because you know how like when you log into, say, Google, for example, and every time you go to Gmail, you don't have to re-log in every single time because that the cookie saves the browser, it saves the information in, and all of that. So what this exploit did was it allowed them to run code through the browser from like a web page that would allow them to pull all of those cookies back up and out. So you could utilize this by sending them a link or embedding code in emails that would then access that and be able to pull that cookie data out. And so then they would be able to take that cookie data and spoof into whatever website. I know it affected a lot of Facebook stuff, and for a while it had affected a bunch of Google stuff as well. So I don't know if that has resurfaced somehow, because Internet Explorer isn't used anywhere anymore. Edge, well, a lot of people would say, well, what about Edge? Edge is Chromium based. So then this exploit never really hit Chrome or Firefox because it was self-contained into Internet Explorer. And so now that Windows by default uses Edge, I don't know how this would have happened unless there's a new cookie jack exploit, which would be very interesting if there was. Or if it's a new type of exploit, but it's the idea is using cookies and being able to jack the browser sessions that way. But most likely it was someone got sent a phishing email, clicked on a link, and inadvertently gave their login information to a secondary or third-party website that way, which then was able to hijack back in, take over accounts, and yeah. Be very careful clicking on links from emails that, even if they look insanely official, just be really careful. My advice for even just home security wise, if you get an email from, let's say, Amazon, and they say that your account has been compromised, please click here to approve or deny these payments. Instead of clicking here to approve or deny payments, my advice would be open up Amazon, go to Amazon directly, go to your account, and then go look to see if you have notifications or account alerts independently from an email that you get.
Yeah.
Whether that's Amazon, Google, YouTube, your bank, anything. Instead of just clicking a link, even though it's so easy and so quick to do, I would always don't ever follow links out of emails that way. I would automatically just go to the website itself. Yes, it's going to take you a little bit longer. Yes, it's going to be a little bit more annoying. But I think in the long run, it's so much more safer and it protects you so much more from accidentally doing this, because, these guys are, for lack of a better term, tech gods in the YouTube world. And if they could succumb to a phishing attempt, don't ever think that that there's no way you would ever succumb to a phishing attempt, because it could happen to anyone. All it takes is being busy or just one small lapse of anything. And it's been known to happen. And it's popular because it works a lot.
Yeah. It takes advantage of people's insecurity about their accounts, and it'll say oh, your account's your account's been compromised. Click here to reset your password. But what you did was you just gave them the password, and they're gonna go reset it.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I'll put it that way. It's very, very interesting of how it all kind of connects and works together, and I don't know. Just better safe than sorry on a lot of this stuff. And just protect yourself. Always take the extra 10, 20, 30 seconds to go back through and do stuff right. It will save you hours of headache later on. But yeah, it's also, if you're worried about the Facebook side of things, stop clicking on the links to connect your Facebook page to things like surveys. What Harry Potter character are you? That stuff, when you do that, you can inadvertently give them usernames, passwords, account information for you, changing your account, access to change your account information. They try to hide all that stuff through those things. So that's just don't. It's so much better if you just don't. Yeah, I don't want to scare anyone, but it's not worth it. If you want to know what kind of a Harry Potter character you are, go read the book, figure it out. You don't need some social engineering to get, because it not only gives you, have you ever looked at what those things ask for, like just the standard ones, not the ones that are notoriously trying to phish a password. Have you seen what it asks for data wise?
No, because I know not to do this.
So every single one of them, even if they're not asking for detailed, always want to access your profile and your friends' profiles. So what happens is that even if you are protecting your stuff, you never click on anything because you don't want a third party getting all of your profile data, right? You're super safe. You don't want anyone getting your profile data, all this stuff. Whoever sets up those surveys and stuff, and your friend clicks, your friend is now giving them access to all of their friends' profiles, which means now that third party has access to everything in your profile to build another data link. So you could be the safest person on Facebook, but you have one friend who shares all of your information. That ruins out whatever you thought you were trying to achieve on Facebook that way.
No,
Which
I
is
can't even log into my
insane.
Facebook, so that's fine.
Yeah, I don't use Facebook that often anymore. I have it for a few smaller things, but I don't do hardly anything on Facebook anymore. I log on probably once every couple weeks.
So, speaking of, what Harry Potter character are you? I got filament for the printer, and I've been printing Harry Potter wands.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so I printed Harry's wand for Dominic, and I printed Nymphadora for Christy. I printed for Kyle. I printed Ron Weasley.
You know what you should do?
And Olivia got Hermione. So I was showing them off to one of Christy's work friends, who I like to give shit to, like constantly. Just give her loads and loads and loads of shit all the time. And she saw the wand. She's like, "That's fucking amazing." She's like, you're gonna make a bunch of these?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, everybody's gonna end up getting one. They're gonna be like $20. You pay me $20, you get a wand." So later, I was thinking about it. I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna fuck with her." I texted her. I was like, "Hey, what wizard am I?" And I knew that my response first, like, Didn't matter what she was going to say. My response was going to be, "You're wrong. It's Gandalf." Like, just out of the bat, it's like, "You're wrong. I'm Gandalf."
So there is. It used to be Pottermore, but now it's called the Wizarding World,
Mm-hmm.
and it gives you like what your house is, what your official, all this stuff, different information about all this stuff, and it's like the official fan site for everything Harry Potter or whatever. But one of the things that they have is your wands. And you go through and you can find out what kind of a wand you would be or you would have. And it would be what type of wood, what type of core, the length of it, the flexibility, like everything that it would be for your own wand. I wonder if they have a database on here where you could look at all the different wands, lengths, and styles. So people could go into Wizarding World, find out what kind of wand that they are, and then order that wand from you. And like take it instead of just copying off of others, but just pushing the limits on that would be really interesting.
Yeah, because if it would get me some like images that I could turn into turn into a model, I could do that.
Yeah. So I'm sure there's got to be images in there somewhere for this. Have to poke around a little bit further, but I was thinking about that when you were talking. I was like, wait a minute, I remember this thing on Pottermore, and now I just realized that it's now Wizarding World. But yeah, wizardingworld.com is where you can go, and it's, they have the quizzes and stuff to figure out which house you'd be in, what your Patronus is, what your wand would be, all that stuff. Which is really really interesting. Kind of fun. I think I started doing it when they had the Harry Potter, when Niantic was doing the Harry Potter game. I kind of went through all this stuff, and then I just never did anything else with it.
What house are you?
I am a Ravenclaw.
Huh.
Apparently.
I don't know. I've never signed up for such a thing. Not really a big Harry Potter fan.
I'm more of a casual. I don't know. I'm not as big as I thought I would end up getting into it. I kind of was doing it, like I said, when they had the game out. I was like, hey, I could do this and check some stuff out. I kind of got caught up in the hype for a bit. And then that died out really quickly, and then I just didn't care anymore. But it's still kind of fun and interesting, and because it is the official, I use that in some quotations, but because it is the official setup that way, I wonder if we could find images of all the different wand types, and then you have, they can tell you what the length is. So you have the length stuff. The cord wouldn't really matter because it would just be the looks because it's a 3D printed thing, but at least you could get the lengths down and the type of wood, and with a little bit of airbrushing and skill that way in practice, you could probably make them look really amazing.
Well, because it has wood in it, I was able to use wood stain.
Oh, yeah. And let it really pop that way.
Oh my god. I did I made the elder wand and put stain on it. I used a dark walnut stain. It was
Yeah.
freaking amazing.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, that's kind of awesome. Those are the fun things that you can do with that I hadn't even thought about, but you could do with like 3D printing. Like I never would have thought about printing wizard wands. You tried
making
3D printing
earrings.
like comm badges and stuff yet?
Not yet, but I have it on my like list of things to download.
Yeah.
I've been using
Ooh,
a site called
earrings.
Printables.
Earrings would be interesting.
Yeah, I actually have a print. Oh, it just finished. I have a print. 7 sets of earrings that I started. Just finished.
Huh. Now that I've gotten, did I tell you I finally achieved the kind of my final stretching for my ear?
Yeah. What is it?
It's the whatever 00 gauge. How big is 00 gauge? 3/8 of an inch, or between about 9.5 millimeters, approximately. Okay, so 00 G is about 10 millimeters. Yeah.
Okay. I'll print you an earring.
I was saying, either print or I still at some point would love to do the whole hand turn thing too, if you're still turning.
Yeah, I haven't done any in a while, but I could go out and do some.
I didn't want to do that, have you work on that stuff until I got to where I wasn't going to be stretching out, because once you stretch bigger, then it just kind of, it's whatever.
Yeah.
But now that I've hit up to the 10 millimeters, I think that's about where I'm going to stop. I've got no real desire to go any bigger than that. But I would love to have some sort of wood plugs or something. Even something 3D printed could be interesting. I'm just afraid that the 3D printed be a little bit too porous. I'm not sure how healthy that would be for earring.
Probably depends on the type of plastic.
Yeah. Probably. Or it would be something that I would put in for an event and then swap it back out, because like for overnight and everything, I pretty much only trust glass and stainless. Not stainless, but like surgical steel.
Yeah.
So I have a surgical steel tunnel that I use, and then I have glass plugs that I put in depending on what I want to do. But I will probably just stay, at night or when I'm sleeping or whatever, keep those and just swap out for other stuff, kind of as needed or wanted basis. And that way I wouldn't have to worry too much about the porous or non-porous. It's just when it sits that long, that's when bacteria can start forming and all that fun stuff. So
yeah,
you just got to be really careful about it. And same with woods being irritants, or could be irritants, not automatically are, but could be.
Yeah, that depends on the wood. I have a big sheet of like what woods are irritants and what woods aren't.
Yeah. And I'm sure some of that too, then we could just kind of settle down and figure out on, how it works for certain people. And because I'm sure even though it's not an irritant, or it could be a mild irritant for some, it would be a much heavier irritant for others.
Yeah. Generally, woods that have a fruit that you eat are perfectly safe, like across the board.
Yeah.
So like walnut, apple, cherry, oak, elm.
Well, like you said, you've done a lot of the research on this too, so
Yeah.
I straight up trust you. So that's at least somewhat good, I think. I'm pretty sure trusting you is pretty good.
Yeah, maybe.
Possibly.
I will tell you that nothing's 100%, and you should definitely keep an eye on it. But
Oh yeah, absolutely.
if it feels safe, then you're good.
Absolutely.
If you put one in and then it's like everything turns red and bad, then take it out.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's I didn't have a whole lot. I mean, other than doing school this week, I really have been not doing much of anything. Waiting for stuff to get warmed up so we could start doing more recording and everything with the gardening channel, but I'm working on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I need you guys to come up and help me set up where I need stuff to be.
I mean, set up where we need stuff to be.
Where I want my plants to be. Everything was so overwhelmed last year.
Oh, gotcha.
It was out of hand. I had cucumbers that were freaking 8 foot tall.
That's fun. That's kind of
Yeah.
crazy. Those are really tall.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would
Well, and
be that'd be the
they
wife's
like
department versus mine.
they grew up over the structure that I built for them and tore the structure down and then just crawled across the ground. It was wild. And then the cucumbers were like, I was getting off of them. I would see them, they'd be like 2-3 inches one day. And then
Yeah.
I'd check like 2 days later and they were 1.5 feet, 2 foot long. Like they would just explode in size. It was wild.
Interesting. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll have to have a better plan of what we're talking about next week, I think. Oh, talking about what happened this week. My oldest got his driver's license on Monday.
Woo.
Yeah. And last weekend bought a car. We're still waiting for the bank to send the money over, but he'll have his own car here real shortly.
Dang.
He's had a job and wanted to do that kind of stuff to figure it all out. It's kind of crazy.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Nice. What kind of car is he getting?
2019 Nissan Sentra S.
Oh.
Automatic though. But that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got about 80,000 miles on it, I think. So not terrible on the miles. It looks like it was well taken care of, so from the Carfax report at least.
Hmm.
All black.
Yeah. Cool. Gonna have to send him up.
Yeah, his mom's long-term partner, I guess now is with that. I don't think they're ever gonna get married, but he's a truck driver and a mechanic. So
Hmm.
I'm sure he will be able to do all the stuff with the car stuff that I can't do, which is pretty much everything I should say.
Yeah. Need to be able to change oil and do tires. Check the tires and such.
Yeah, well, I take mine in to get the oil change, but that's
Yeah.
because by the time I buy all the stuff that I would normally have to want to do anyway, and then dispose of the old oil and the time involved, it's cheaper for me just to take it into Honda. They
Yeah,
don't
but you
charge too much.
should just bring it here.
Yeah, whatever. I could, but then, by the time I buy the oil and then the gas going up there and back, it still saves me money to go to freaking Honda. Because I don't think I can get everything I need for $30, including gas up and back.
Yeah, maybe.
I might, but 30 is it's hard. Like $30-$40 is hard to beat.
Depends on if I were to buy that drum of oil, I could beat that.
Huh?
But I haven't done that yet.
But that's, I'm but for personal use, I just will take it to Honda. It's easy. That and they're pretty good at keeping an eye on other stuff and letting me know when something else is going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed that with them, and I don't know, I'm not going to say this is about this for every dealership stuff that does stuff, but they are not very pushy on like trying to figure stuff out, or like there used to be a reputation. I don't know if it's the same, if it's a valid reputation or if it's just a movie'd reputation or whatever, of mechanics and especially dealerships trying to nickel and dime everyone to death for every little thing, and trying to, there's that old joke from The Mask of, hey, what's this part do? I don't know. Looks like about $1,000. And there was a huge reputation for a long time with that. But like, I took Hill's car in to get an oil change and stuff, and they said, hey, come over here and take a look at this. And they showed me where the battery terminals were starting to corrode out. And they said, look, this isn't a massive problem right now. It might be a problem later on down the road. Here's the option we have for replacing out the battery now if you want to do it now.
Mm-hmm.
And that was as pushy as they got on it. And that really, when they walk you out to the car and they point out what they're seeing and possible means of what it could mean, it builds a confidence level with a group that is that open and transparent about what they're trying to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I am more than happy to help another group stay in business by having them do my work for me. I'll put it that way. Speaking of, I gotta shut off the power to the house one of these early mornings and install in a couple of outlets. Because I'm not too keen on trying to install an outlet on a live wire. As funny as that might be.
You do it backwards. You install the outlet, run the wire, and then you can plug it right into your Um, then you can plug it into your breaker.
Yeah, I'm not installing a new wire into my breaker. So there's a box that kind of like a junction box or whatever that's right above where I need to have, right where I want to have an outlet anyway. So I'll just install in GFC because half of the wire in this house is old and crotchety. So I'll just do GFCs. Anyway, I think that's about going to wrap us this week.
Yep. See if we get hacked by some crypto scammers.
Oh yeah, because that's what I need on this for my docket this week is crypto scammer hacking. Take care of yourself this week.
You too.
See you next week.
Later.